Внимание! Система периметр активирована.
Враги подходят со стороны! Дайте обойти! Прикройте меня! Прикройте меня!
Внимание! Система периметр активирована.
From 1947 to 1991, the world lived on the edge of extinction. Missiles in silos, spies in the shadows, a financial battleground still unknown to most. A doctrine to end all life as a deterrent to open war. That was the Cold War, and some say it never really ended.
I'm gonna blow you up! Never!
This is Dead Hand Radio, your source for Cold War history. Our mission, to decode the strategic use of psychological warfare, black budgets, espionage, and nuclear brinkmanship. To uncover the hidden power structures still shaping our world.
Dead Hand Radio, episode 203. AI Warfare and Unexplained Encounters with Jeremy S. Bailey, Part 2. In Part 2 of my interview with Jeremy Bailey, we go beyond the battlefield. We discuss how AI is reshaping modern warfare and what happens when the machines become the decision makers. Then Jeremy takes us into the unknown, recounting two strange experiences that defy explanation, events that still leave him wondering what he witnessed. This is Dead Hand Radio. Let's get into it. I want to get into some speculative areas about tank warfare. And I understand that your experience and your knowledge is limited and it's been a long time since your service. But if you're anything like me, you keep up a little bit with advancements in military technology, military doctrine, that kind of stuff. You talked a little bit about the A2 or the M1 Abrams A2.
There's probably an A3 now. I didn't.
I haven't heard of an A3.
I know the A2 is so good. You know, what they're working on an auto loader, so they're trying to eliminate the loader so that the tank can fire at a faster cycle rate. So I know they've been working on that. But then also they're like, well, why bother doing that when we could just have remote controlled like drone tanks, not have anybody in them?
Do you think the future of warfare is going to involve unmanned tanks?
I've thought about this actually for a while. So what is a tank when you eliminate the crew, right? A lot of what's on the tank is designed to protect the crew. Most of the weight of the tank is that. Tracks are heavy, but they're not that heavy. The weapon system is actually relatively light compared to all the armor. So I think, this fits into the whole idea of going from heavy to light. I think the next iteration of a tank is basically just like a cheap 115 millimeter cannon on some treads, that can be piloted from anywhere in the world with the automatic loader,
or autonomous.
Just think of imagine like a giant machine gun.
How wild would that be if they became autonomous?
Yeah, I mean, once AI is good enough, I think it's definitely feasible for a weapon of war like that to be autonomous. Yeah. So I think there's going to be, they're going to skip the whole upgrading the tank thing and go right to the future of that kind of warfare, where I don't even know to what extent you really need tanks at that point. I mean, most of the stuff can be done cheaply by air at that point. Tanks are good for...
And so let's take that thought thread to the extreme. Mm-hmm. If you've got robot army versus robot army, what's the purpose or point of war anymore?
Wow, that's pretty far in the future. Some Terminator stuff. It'd be like just grinding down your national budget. That's all it would be doing,
because there's no way to determine which side is losing.
No. And you can't hold ground anymore. Right. That's just not possible anymore. When you have a a drone that a soldier can just throw into the air with a grenade dangling off of it. You can't even hold one little foxhole anymore. So, the value of having tanks in warfare was the ability to hold large pieces of land. And then once you got to the point where you have what do you call air superiority, with all of the weapons we can bring to bear, you're going to eliminate pretty much everything that can damage a tank before the tank even shows up, even gets unloaded off the boat. All of that will be gone. Cruise missiles are going to get cheaper and cheaper. So yeah, I don't know what the ultimate outcome of all of this is. And that's why people are saying, well, there's not going to be wars like that in the future. It's all going to be, computer wars. It's going to be trying to eliminate our power grids and, water safety and things like that affect the populace. But, there's this theory of warfare that I learned when I was, actually had to go to Claremont McKenna to learn it, while I was in ROTC. And the theory was that it always goes from light to heavy and then back to light. And so like during the Cold War, it's a great example of a big buildup of heavy armaments, the tanks, the airplanes, the nuclear missiles, all of that stuff, the proliferation of all of that. And then 9/11 ushered in, well, we can't really use all these heavy weapons against the new enemy. So now we need to develop a whole bunch of new light weapons. And then Afghanistan proved out that those weapons are highly effective. A Predator program got going, Global Hawk, all of these remotely piloted vehicles really showed that you could have air superiority and fight battles on a very, really small scale with this new technology that didn't exist, 25 years before, not even during Desert Storm. So yeah, it's going to get stranger and stranger, and who knows what AI is going to do the whole thing, it's either a Terminator or it's advancing weapons so fast, creating weapons that no one even thought of, but AI can think of. That scares the crap out of me, because what's that going to be?
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole different thought experiment right there that we could get into. And like I said, I wanted to talk about some speculative stuff, but I think we're getting pretty far into the future when we're talking about robotic armies and AI commanding a battlefield. I think that's at least 5 to 10 years down the road. Yeah. That's a joke, people.
I know. Yeah, it's a joke. Yeah.
Seriously, though, maybe within the next 50 years, we might see a shift towards unmanned warfare on the battlefield.
Absolutely. I think it's necessary, because it's the people you don't want to lose. You don't really care that much about the equipment per se. It's the people, so like even pilots, you spend $10 million training a pilot today, on the latest and greatest, stealth aircraft or whatever. You don't want to lose that pilot. But if you can have aircraft without pilot, then, hey, it blows up. Yeah. It costs you $100 million to build it, but you can just build another one.
Yeah. And because humans learn by doing, we're not going to learn what that looks like until we do it.
Yeah.
And from that lesson, hopefully we'll still be around to advance to the next level, whatever that is. Maybe war is eliminated at some point because of that.
Yeah, the cost could be just too great to any country to go to war for any reason. I think Russia's kind of finding that out right now. I think they're a little bit surprised by the fight that Ukraine can put up with, other people's weapons.
Yeah, it's costing Russia a lot more than I think they anticipated.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's gonna.
It is costly to Ukraine, though.
For sure.
To be fair, they've had a huge loss of human life.
100%. Yeah.
Whereas Russia's losses are more in terms of equipment.
Yeah.
A lot of, I think they've suffered a lot of reputation more than anything.
Yeah.
They were the big bad guys,
right?
And now they're really not as scary as they once were.
Well, so their expensive tanks are getting blown up by Ukrainian soldiers with a shoulder-mounted rocket, left and right, or they fly a drone over and just drop a grenade right in the commander's hatch, like for $20 or whatever that costs. So I think everyone's watching to that play out to say, well, wait a minute, maybe war has changed so much that these big industrial countries are left behind unless they have the budget to now get out in front of it. Fortunately, the U.S., we do have the budget. We can generate all this new technology. But I think some of the other countries that maybe don't have the deep resources that we do will think twice about invading their neighbor because they don't know what's gonna happen. Just like I highly...
Well, back in the day, and this brings us back to the Cold War. Back in the day, the threat of nuclear annihilation was the thing that everybody was afraid of. That's why you didn't have people invading their neighbors the way you have it.
Right.
It seems to be starting up again.
Yeah.
And it's like nobody realizes we still have nukes or what.
Yeah.
Nobody just wants to use them.
Right.
So what's the point? What's the point of having them if you're not going to use them? And I'm not saying we should use them. I definitely do not want to use them.
Yeah.
But we
you
should.
don't want to put that out in the world.
I could see us getting rid of them.
Yeah. I mean, it's just making sure you've got a stick as big as the other guy's stick, and then neither of you really want to get hit by the stick. So it's unfortunate.
But if your stick stays at home, every time you go out to play, nobody's afraid of you anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's a scary place to be to me, because knowing these countries do have these weapons of ultimate mass destruction.
Yeah.
And other countries seeing that they're not willing to use them under extreme circumstances. Well, what's stopping North Korea from invading South Korea? Or China from taking over Taiwan? Nobody's going to use the nukes on me.
Right. Yeah, so have you ever heard of the Moab, the mother of all bombs? So what we've done is we've decided, well, then we will push a non-nuclear technology as far as it can possibly go and have the same basic effect. And then we'll also push that technology to be so precise that we can take one dude out in a vehicle with 4 other dudes, but only the one dude dies from, way up in the sky, like stuff like that. So, I mean, that's also, if you want to make yourself a target, you could become a target. It doesn't matter where you are in this world anymore. If you make yourself a target, you're going to be targeted. And that'll eventually go for all countries. So it's like, well, I can just take out your commander in chief anytime I want. Just press this button over here. AI does it with my little, invisible missiles or whatever right into your nostrils. Like it's just, so don't do it.
So that's kind of the opposite of a weapon of mass destruction.
Right.
That's more of a.
So we're going both ways.
More of an extreme weapon of precise destruction.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, because it's scary because at some point you won't be able to stop those. Yeah. They're too small to target with any kind of response. You're not going to be sitting in a bomb shelter the rest of your life, and it'll get you, and you won't see it coming. Most of these guys that we get now in Afghanistan and other places in the Middle East, they never see it coming. They have no idea. They don't even know that there's anything in the sky around them. It just out of nowhere they're dead. That's it. So, and that's, on the other side of the world from where we're sitting. But guess what? So my folks live right next to Beale Air Force Base. And not only do they still have the U-2 program operating there from the Cold War, which we can talk about, but they also have a lot of drone pilots that live there. So they just do their 9 to 5. They go in and fly their drone and kill a bunch of dudes and somewhere on the other side of the planet and then go home at night.
Where's Beale? Is that near Sacramento?
Yeah, that's near Sacramento. Yeah, in the foothills. It's just west of Grass Valley area.
Yeah, U-2s are an interesting airplane.
Yeah.
Really strange looking.
They really are, yeah.
But they've been in use longer than any other plane except the B-52.
Yeah, it's 50, no wait, more than that, 60 years, 65 years. When was Gary Power shut down? That was a U2, right? That was 71, 72? Earlier?
I thought it was in the late 50s.
Or late 50s. Okay, I'm terrible with dates going that far back before my time.
Watch Bridge of Spies, man.
Yeah.
That talks a lot about the Gary Powers incident. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so yeah, that was in the 50s. That plane was developed. You know where that plane was developed, right?
Oh, that's right. The place we can't name.
The place we can't name. That's not too far from where we are right now.
I don't want the MIBs coming to knock on my door. Because I'll just point them over to your house.
Yeah, exactly. Great. I'm on the radar now. I've been trying to stay off the radar.
Yeah, you thought it was safe coming over to do a podcast. No, they know where I live. They know where you live.
Well, you definitely see weird stuff around here. Can I tell the first story this one you haven't heard yet? Well, because it sort of fits in because it's around.
So when you mentioned your dad, yeah, and we'll get to that. That we'll go down that road, that rabbit hole. But you said your dad worked out at Area 51 for a little while.
Yeah. So this would have been, I'm thinking probably 80. A bit a little later than that, maybe like 82, 81, 82, something like that. We'd have to look it up to see what the actual date was. I could be way off, but I was a kid, and my dad would be out of town all the time, and I knew that he was just working. And one day on the news, they showed it for the very first time, the stealth fighter, and my dad said to me, "Jared, that's what I've been working on for the last 20 years." I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. And then it was years after that he would be willing to talk a little bit more about it. I would just keep pestering him. Like literally 30 years later, I'm pestering him about it. Especially after the New York Times article came out with the Tic Tac and all that. And I would pester him about it. He said, yeah, so they called it La La Land. So we were living in Northern California, and he'd have to fly down first to LA and then take the Janet flight out of the airport here in Las Vegas. You're familiar with Janet, right? They called it something else back then. It was run by EG&G, I think. But they would fly him in. They would so all the windows are blacked out in the plane, so you can't see anything when you're coming in. And then when you leave, they actually have a chute that you go down that directs you only to where you're going. And they have one for each person that's getting off that plane. I don't really know how the whole thing works, but he said he would go down and it would end up at the base of the cockpit of the plane that he was supposed to be working on. Everything's covered so he can't see anything at all, even inside the cockpit, except the device that he was there to repair. That's it.
Okay, so that's compartmentalization.
I mean, as much as you possibly can, right? When that's literally the only thing you can see. So he would do his repairs and he would go back down the chute and they would fly him back out. And so his company.
So you know what, that reminds me of that story of the three blind men who were touching the elephant. One of them touched the leg of the elephant and he thought it was a tree. Another one touched the trunk of the elephant and he thought it was a snake or something. And the other guy touched the ear and he thought it was something else. But they didn't know that they were all touching the same thing and they were what they were touching.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So he never got to see the shape of the vehicle. He never got to see what other electronics were in the cockpit. Basically no information whatsoever was allowed. He would be doing that constantly, and so we found out then that's what he was working on. He worked for a defense contractor that made like the first heads-up displays in fighter aircraft. So this is back in the day where it would be like this little piece of glass, square glass, where they would project a laser on it, and that would give you some basic information to the pilot, so he wouldn't have to look down at his stuff. And they went from there into project, like they did the helmets then where they're projecting on the helmets. So it was really advanced stuff that he was working on. And of course, it always ended up in like the highest tech aircraft.
Oh, that's right. You said he went into electronics engineering, right?
He did. Yeah. He was an electronics engineer, and his company, that's what they did, was electronics engineering for the defense industry.
The company he worked for, or the company
that he worked for.
Okay.
So I can say the name. It's Kaiser Electronics was the name of the company. It's been bought by Rockwell? No, I'm not. It might have been bought by Rockwell. It got bought by somebody. So it doesn't exist separately anymore.
Right. So he worked on the stealth fighter.
So he worked on the stealth fighter. Yeah. Yeah. This would have been starting in the 70s, probably early 70s, something like that, in the late 60s. So that's the thing is technology, we don't know about it until it's already 25 years old. Yeah. So what we're seeing today is 25 years old, if you can imagine that. Like even the new jet, the F, I don't know what they are, 34 or whatever the new one is.
There's an F-35 and an F-22.
The F-35, yeah. Well, there's a new one now that looks crazy.
Oh, but it hasn't been. They just won the contract to build it, but it hasn't. They don't have anything more than a prototype.
Yeah,
I think that's. I think that was Boeing that won that contract. Maybe it was Lockheed, but anyway.
But whatever it is, it's 25 years old.
Supposedly. So here's the thing that I am a little bit dubious about. Okay. If that's true, the technology that the military has, and we don't know about it, how come they're not using that stuff over in Ukraine?
So the United States wants to win every war they go into. So they're never going to use their best stuff on somebody else's war.
I mean, doesn't Russia have advanced technology that's compatible to ours?
If you hear stories about people who have gone to Russia and gone to where like their technology exists, various places I hear about it. It's always in like some rusty warehouse or, they're not nearly as advanced as you think that they are. Which is why we can usually run over their technology. The only thing they were really great at actually was aircraft. We struggled against their aircraft in Vietnam.
They were pretty good in the space race too.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So it's flying stuff they were really good at.
And their nukes were pretty impressive too. Did you ever hear the Tsar Bomba?
The Tsar Bomba?
Yeah. 50,
I don't think so.
50 kiloton or megaton. I think megaton. Yeah, blasted a hole in the ozone layer. Anyway, yeah, they were pretty good at making nukes.
A lot of their technology follows on stuff that we make, with a few exceptions that are really important. Aircraft is one of them for sure. So we actually, I feel like a lot of stories about like UFO recoveries are actually the U.S. snapping up foreign vehicles that have crashed.
I'll go along with that. Yeah, I think that's true.
Because we definitely, there also would be people who defect and fly their aircraft into some neighboring country that was, that we had a close relationship with. And so that country didn't want that technology there or be part of it, but they would let us take a team out, grab it, and bring it back to the U.S. And it would always end up out here at Area 51, and they would basically deconstruct it and try to understand how to beat it. And especially with the Russian aircraft, because we always struggled with that until the 70s, 80s, and then we started to get really good at it. But yeah, we got a couple of vehicles out here. There's a great book. I'm trying to remember the name of the author. It was called Area 51, and it was a history of the programs that were based at Area 51. And the whole Roswell thing is only mentioned briefly, but it's an actual history of it.
Annie Jacobsen?
Annie Jacobsen, yeah. Excellent book. It's a great history of the programs from the U-2 all the way through to the Ox Cart program, and then what's the big black one? What's it called?
SR-71?
Yeah, SR-71. Yeah. Just trying to blank there for a second. That's
easily missed. Yeah. Everybody else forgot about that.
The Ox Cart was actually before SR-71. So that was the original SR-71, and then it became SR-71. But all of that happened there. It was all CIA run, according to Annie. CIA run, which makes perfect sense because they wanted plausible deniability when they were flying it over Russia. They didn't want the president to get put on the spot. They wanted him to be able to say, no, I don't know what you're talking about. So it was kept completely separate from the executive branch. And yeah, so a lot of great technology was developed out there by all kinds of scientists from all over the place, not just the U.S.
And your dad happened to be one of those.
My dad happened to be one.
That's interesting, man. So do you know how long you worked out there?
I mean, it was off and on. It's always like on call.
Oh, okay. So it was just when he was needed for his particular skill set.
He would be the guy that the company would send down there to repair it.
Right. Now, since we're kind of like touching on the realm of unknown or unidentified phenomena. You could talk about that experience that you had.
Yeah.
Where were you when it happened?
Well, let me start with the one that happened when I was a cadet, because that's an interesting one. That there's another witness. Okay. So because they're so wildly different, and I think it's good to have both of them out there for someone who wants to look into it. This first one would be tough to do that, but so we were either coming back from Fort Irwin. We were definitely on the 15 freeway outside of Barstow, and we were either coming back from Fort Irwin or somewhere. I think we had gone there to do some shooting or something like that when I was a cadet. So we'd just be practicing our marksmanship and whatnot out there at National Training Center. And we were coming back on the freeway. It was kind of late afternoon, probably like 4:30 or something like that, 5 o'clock. Still like daylight and everything. And we're on a packed freeway. You know, we're headed towards that pass down into San Bernardino. And all of a sudden, just hanging in the sky, probably like a 25-degree angle, maybe 30-degree angle, is a white cylinder. No wings, no tail, no exhaust coming out the back. So there was nothing to indicate it was a rocket or an airplane. And it was at this really weird angle. It was not a flight angle of any kind. It was at this really strange angle, and it was just floating there. And so I was like, are you seeing this? And my one of the cadets who's sitting next to me, his name is Mike. I've got his actual name, so if someone wants to investigate this, I can provide that to them. But he's like, yeah, and then something really weird happened. I mean, that's weird to begin with. We didn't know what it was, but the weird thing was the Advil-shaped whatever that zipped into the scene from nowhere, and it was purple, and it was leaving like this weird green trail behind it, and it zipped around the cylinder a few times, and then it left, and then the cylinder disappeared, and like the whole thing lasted maybe 45 seconds to a minute, something like that. That was it. And it was just gone. So Mike saw that. We talked about it at dinner that night. You know, we had like mixed reviews, like whatever, go on with the conversation. You know, a lot of people just shrug this stuff off, like, but we both saw the same thing because we compared notes on what we saw. It's completely unexplainable. Like, we have no idea what any of that was. But as a cadet and, you know, having exposure to the military at that point, my automatic assumption was like, we've got some cool stuff that we're working on out here, you know? But reflecting on it, no, we don't have anything that can move that way. That little Advil thing zipped around like incredible speed.
That was the early 90s?
So yeah, this would have been probably 1995, something like that.
The desert of California.
Really weird. And what happened to that cylinder?
There is an Air Force base near, not too far from there.
Yeah.
Not saying that's an Air Force.
Also, sometimes you can see stuff from Vandenberg from that advantage, I think.
Well, was it to the south of you or to the north of you?
So if you're headed towards the pass, I think that's mostly west. So it would have been kind of northwest, I guess, because it was kind of a little bit to the right. And
northwest would be in the realm of Vandenberg.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why like I had first assumed it was a rocket, but there was no exhaust of any kind, and it didn't move. It just was hanging there. So yeah, that was really really strange. But it's one of these things where even if you experience something like that, life goes on. That doesn't change anything for you at all.
I mean, I wouldn't say that definitively, because some people will see something like that and it's life changing for some people. Yeah. I mean, for you, it sounds like you can pretty much, I don't know, figure it's either something you have never seen and it's human made, or it's something else and you'll never know. So why worry about it?
Exactly.
That's kind of my perspective too.
Back in those days,
but
I don't
for
even
the
think
record,
I had a cell phone.
I've never had an experience like that. I've told you that before, and I've said this on the podcast before. Yeah. So I don't know how I'd react to an incident like that. I have seen some weird stuff, but I've always been able to say, okay, I'm pretty sure that that's a rocket, or that's a plane flying in a weird way.
What I've noticed about things is some of these sightings, it wouldn't be weird if only one thing, or like you only saw one thing, or only one thing happened. But there's a second thing that is injected into the equation, or the whatever you see or hear or feel, whatever it is, and that's what makes it super weird. We definitely didn't have anything that could fly, like that little Advil looking thing, and how it got there and away without seeing, like a trail leaving, or like most aircraft, even military aircraft, you can follow them with your eyes for a while. But these things it was just zip, 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 and then it was gone. And the whole thing was so short. And where the hell did that cylinder go? No, that still kind of boggles my mind. But I didn't really think about it because I've never been a UFO guy. I was never really into it.
Let me just ask you a couple more questions, because one of the things that I know that's commonly misidentified is satellites. Because you'll see a satellite, and satellites don't put off any light. What you see from a satellite is the reflection of the sun. Sure. But when they hit that terminator line, where it's between light and dark, you can see them until they hit that terminator line, and then they blink out. Sure. So you can no longer see them. Was it dark?
It was bright daylight.
Oh, okay.
Full on daylight. So yeah, no satellites, no stars.
No
moon.
Was it a reflective surface?
So the cylinder was white. I remember very clearly it being white, and it was, I couldn't tell if it was reflective. I don't think it was at the right angle for that. The little Advil looking thing didn't seem reflective. Like I can replay it back in my mind because it did leave that kind of impression on me. I did think about how cool it would be, like at some point in the future, like to be able to fly that thing, whatever that was, because of the way it would zip around like that.
They wouldn't let you, though, because your glasses.
No, because my eyesight's too bad. Yeah. So that was, I never really thought of myself as like an experience. Now they're called experiencers. But back then it was just like, well, that was weird as crap. Like, I don't know what to do with that. So I just put it away. And if anyone ever asked me about if I ever saw something weird, I'd pull it out and tell them the story. But yeah, that was not the weirdest thing that I've seen. This next one, like you've heard about, but I think it's important because I haven't heard of an experience like this, and I've listened to so many stories, and I'm not into telling other people's stories, but I happily tell my own. So yeah, this happened to me. There's a little bit of prefix that I have to do here, a little bit because of the area where this happened. So my folks retired in a gated community in Northern California. If someone wants to know what community that is, they can reach out maybe to you, and I'm happy to share it, but I don't want to broadcast it. It's a very, very peaceful community. There's like 1,400 houses in it. They bought a house, and then a second house, and I bought some rental properties there. I did some development there. Well, just one house on the lake, really nice house I built. So I had years and years of experience in that specific community. And I also took up fishing. I was living there for like a year and a half after COVID with my folks. And I took up fishing. And so I'd fished every park, every bit of water there. all year long, every month. Every time of day, I'd get up early and fish. I'd stay until after dark and fish. It's a really densely packed community. There's houses everywhere, right? So it's the last place you expect anything strange to occur whatsoever. And I'm prefacing this to say that I have a lot of experience in this area. So I've seen every kind of wildlife. I've seen the light at every time of day. I've seen what sunsets look like and sunrise, and heavy waves. Like the worst waves there might get to 2 feet at the most. That's like super heavy boat traffic. It's a fairly small lake. Sorry, I'm actually going to get out something and show it to you.
Oh, we got visual aids?
I have a visual aid.
Wow. Sorry for the people that are listening.
I'll describe it for them. But so the day in question, I'm there. I've already moved away. I moved here to Vegas, and I had to go back for my cousin's daughter's first birthday party. I was there for about a week, something like that. And so this occurred, I have a range of dates. I can't remember the exact date. But I was fishing. I was like, okay, cool. I have an afternoon. Let me go down and fish. And so I went down to the park closest to where my folks live, which that park was so close to the house that I probably fished it 100 times when I was living there. So fully familiar with all of it, everything. I've even seen some of the weird, like unusual animals that hardly anybody ever gets to see. There's beaver in that lake. There's freshwater otter, and people will go years and years and years and never see one, but I've seen all of them. There's also the kind of fishing birds with the long necks, the black cormorants. I think they're called cormorants. Okay. So anyway, I've seen all that stuff. I've seen bait fish, bubbling, just all kinds of things, turtles, whatever. So I'm fishing, and the sun is setting, right? And I'm going to fish until just after sunset, because sometimes I get some good bites. I'm fishing for bass, and the sun is starting to go down, and then I see about 20 yards offshore, between where I'm standing, and there's a little island next to a park, and the little island is probably like 20 feet or 20 yards wide, something like that. It's really small.
I mean, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Is this lake man-made or natural?
It's a community that was developed in the 1960s. It's all man-made. Okay, so there were some buildings, and there was some Indian territory that they took over and then flooded, and so they actually made the lake from scratch. There's literally nothing about this that makes any sense, because why would something like I'm about to explain happen in a community like that? It's all modern, it's not out in the boondocks in the wilderness or anything like that. Like there's houses everywhere. So I'm fishing, and the first thing that happens is there's a patch of dark water kind of between me and the island, and I see a white light. Just like you would call an orb, but I mean, and here's a white light on the surface of the water, and it starts arcing back and forth like this, just back and forth, left, right, kind of slowly. And I'm staring at it, because the only time I've ever seen anything like that is when someone is doing the crawl on the lake. And at that time of night, number one, no one should be swimming, because it's already getting dark. And number two, there's no chase boat. They always have a chase boat, right? That's a requirement, because they're out in the middle of the lake, essentially. But the lake is only probably 50 yards wide at that spot. So this is fairly close to me. And I'm just watching this light go back and forth. I'm like, this is not normal. And then it sort of faded, and then I'm just going to call it a spectacle started. It was like the show started. What I saw was beach ball size mass of moving balls. I'm calling them beach balls of light, all sort of organically moving amongst each other. Sticking 7-8 feet out of the water, probably 7 or 8 feet wide at a minimum. Just this moving mass of lights.
Touching the water or above the water?
It was going below the water, but did not seem to be interacting with the water at all. There was no splashing, but these things were moving. It's almost like some of them were on a wheel, and they were just kind of moving around the arc of the wheel, but there was a whole bunch of wheels, and they were all together. Like you couldn't see through the mass. They were just all together. So I'm going to share a drawing I did, it's going to look like a third grader did it, or probably actually even worse
No
than
judgment,
that, maybe
man.
kindergartner.
No judgment. Visual aids are always helpful,
Um,
even rudimentary ones.
all right, I got to find the program where I actually drew it.
Just don't play any music, man, or YouTube will
That was my
copyright flag my channel.
yeah, no, that was my chess program. Okay, so
Okay.
that's what it looks like.
And so this is for size comparison?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So assume it's probably 10, 15 yards away. So
let me describe the picture here. There's a picture of a person in the foreground, and then some water extending out into the distance with a mass of balls, different colored balls, and it looks like some houses out in the further distance beyond.
exactly. So
How far is this distance from you to the balls?
it's probably 10 yards.
Or I should say the mass.
Yeah. So the way that these, I'm calling them beach balls of light because it's really the best way to describe it. But what was weird about them, well, first of all, it was weird in general, but the really weird thing was how they looked. So basically the light wasn't like a dot in the middle and then kind of spread out. The whole thing was the light. So one beach ball, like it was almost like looking at a spotlight. Like if you ever looked at a spotlight where the light is the whole thing. And then the edges were actually fuzzy. There was no clear defined edges. It was just fuzzy around the edges. I've never seen anything like it. And they were moving around in this like really sort of organic motion. And I say it that way because what it reminded me of is have you ever seen an octopus where it has all of its tentacles sort of entwined and they're kind of like all sliming around each other? It was just like that. It didn't seem mechanical, even though it had a motion that could have been construed that way. So it lasted for probably a minute. So that's the other weird thing is these things don't seem to last very long when people see them. And this certainly didn't. It was there for maybe a minute. I remember I had enough time to process that something weird was happening. I remember I checked in with myself because I thought I was having a stroke. So I wanted to make sure my body could work. And so I literally walked back and forth. And I also eliminated that it was a reflection because I walked far enough where there's no way it could be a reflection. And there was nothing to reflect off anyway.
So because it was sunsetting?
Sunsetting.
It was during the sunset?
Yeah. And these balls were the colors of the sunset. That made it super weird. But not like they were reflecting the actual sunset, because then you would get multiple colors in one ball. No, it would be orange, or yellow, or red. Like
and it
all
was,
those colors.
as you said, it was above the water, not in as part of the water.
Correct. Yeah, it was like 7 or 8 feet out of the water, and wide as well. And there was no structure. There's nothing holding it up, and it just did its thing. It was just moving around like that, staying in place, but all these weird undulations. And then the sun was going down behind the mountain, and then it just was gone, just like.
But
there 1 minute
it was gone, but
something
happened next that kind of confirmed that you had seen something.
Yeah. So my first thought was I need to get a CAT scan, right? Because that was insane.
Well, at least you're thinking logically.
Yeah. So I'm standing there
off the deep end with
just
it.
stunned and already thinking like I probably shouldn't tell anybody this until I, get myself checked out or whatever. And then 3 unusual things happened all at once. The first thing was that...
Because the first thing wasn't unusual. That
Right.
was absolutely normal.
Yeah. What's unusual is that the security boat came racing from the harbor, which is on the other side of the lake, which is probably only 50 yards, something like that, but came racing out. At this time of night, you would never see that boat on the lake, especially if there's no other boat traffic. There was no boat traffic at that time. It came screaming out of the harbor, cuts across the lake right to the spot where I saw this, and started doing circles, like it was like they were looking for something. Now, if I hadn't been standing there stunned, I probably would have waved them over and been like, what, did someone report something. I've been standing here the whole time. Like I saw some weird crap. I was, I guess, too stunned to even think to do something like that. But so they gave up. There was nothing there, and they went back to the marina.
So they were looking around the area where you saw this thing?
Yeah, only that area.
Before we go any further, I got to ask the couple of basic questions that everybody's going to ask you. Did you take a picture of it, and if not, why?
Okay, so at the time I had an iPhone 8, and this was only 3 years ago now. This is 2022, right? And I had an iPhone 8, and my lenses were so fogged over, I didn't even use the phone for a camera anymore. And I thought about it for a split second because I didn't have that much time to react. And I was like, well, what if I spend all my time fumbling trying to get a good picture of it and miss the whole thing myself, So, and I assumed the picture is going to come out super crappy. I couldn't even get a good picture of something normal, but this was all light based. It's probably just going to be like one of the typical blurry pictures. I mean, you've got seconds to process this kind of a thing, but that's why I didn't. I reached for it and I realized it's going to probably mess things up, and I'm glad I didn't. I got to see the whole thing, and I got to see how it ended.
I understand there's a little bit more to your experience, but did you report any of this to the authorities?
No.
Or do any kind of follow-up investigative inquiries?
No, not at all. I never even thought to do that. I'm interested in the topic, but I'm not an investigator. And I bring that up because the security shack will have a record of that, because they have to keep a record every time they deploy when someone calls. So they'll know who called, what they said they saw, who went out, looking for it, what time of day, all that stuff. There's going to be a record of it. But it's not my hobby to, go chase that down, because frankly, there's not going to be any other answers. The only thing we're going to learn is what the other person saw, because one other person had to have seen it to make that call and send security out. So I would like to know if they saw the same thing I did. But I don't know how that changes anything, because it's not
How long
repeatable.
ago was it?
This is 2022, June 2022.
Oh, okay. So not that long ago. The people who responded may still be working there. You may be able to talk to them firsthand.
Yeah, so I talked to one guy who's actually a friend of mine who works for the association, and he didn't hear anything from the security guys. So I'm thinking from their side, they just got a report there might have been a swimmer or something out there, and so they went out, to check, and that was it.
Could it have been a swimmer from what you saw? Is there any possibility?
Should I show you the picture again? Can swimmers do that?
Yeah, well, just to reiterate the picture, it's
that the white orbs were the one thing.
But that preceded the beach ball
right.
Lights.
Yeah, so that's the only thing that could have been. But I looked very hard at that area, and there was no one doing the crawl there. There was no one swimming. And so the weirdness of this is, again, two things, not one thing, right? If I just saw some weird beach ball thing, that would be weird, but wouldn't indicate anything. But those white lights arcing like someone waving, that adds a whole nother level of strangeness to it in my book, because then you can ask questions like, was it actually trying to get somebody's attention? My attention, anybody's attention? Because that's what it seemed like. It was like, hey, there's something that's going to happen here. Check it out. And then boom, here's the big show.
What was the other thing that you said was unusual after the security boat came by?
Oh, so the three unusual things are the fact that the boat came out on the lake at all at that time of night, the fact that they went high speed across the lake and then searched that same area. Those three things are highly unusual, and especially in that sequence. The boat should never have been out there. If someone hadn't called it in, they wouldn't have been circling in that area. There's no reason for them to be doing that, and they, if they were just doing a patrol, they would have patrolled along the shores and stuff. They wouldn't just come charging across the lake. So that was all the weird thing. I didn't tell anybody for days because I was processing like, okay.
I think that's a typical reaction to something like that.
Yeah.
Because there's so much of a stigma to having those kind of experiences. People automatically assume you imagined it, right. You hallucinated it, or you're making it up,
right?
Or you like you said, maybe had a stroke or something.
Yeah. So the good news is I'm in relatively good health. I don't have any vision issues. So far, no brain tumors that I know of. Definitely didn't have a stroke, so that's all good. And yeah, and the fact that someone else saw it. Now, I'd like to know if they saw what I saw or if they saw something different, because I always found that to be an interesting data point. Because you hear stories about, two people see the same thing and they both give completely different descriptions of this phenomenon, whatever it is.
Now, that you just reminded me of something else. So you're wearing glasses right now. Were you wearing glasses at the time?
Probably, yeah.
And have you ever had an experience where you see lights that it's like a lens flare off of your glasses?
I've had a lot of lens flares,
Okay.
yeah, for sure.
Could it have been, that to an extreme?
No, because the thing itself didn't move, but I did. So that eliminates a lot of, reflections and, issues in your lenses and things like that, because it didn't change. It stayed right where it was. And so I walk around and look at it, 5-10 yards each way in the 1 minute that I saw it. And yeah, it just was still there the same way.
It sounds like you had your faculties about you. You thought about taking a picture, but you decided not to. Because you probably would have wasted time searching for your camera. It would have been over 100%. By the time you could pull it out.
Yeah.
And it seems like it was over quickly.
It was over quick, yeah. It was about a minute. Yeah, so the other thing that's interesting is I didn't feel fear. I didn't feel excitement.
Well, you did say, you did mention a couple times that you're not that smart. So
yeah, that's true, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
That's established.
Just
It's you hear about people who like freak out and they go running and all this other stuff. And I was just sitting there like, if this is real, this is cool. That's all I can think of. I wasn't afraid. I didn't feel any emotional anything though. So, and the fact that it wasn't interacting with the water and there was no sound. So the other thing is there's no sound at all to this whole thing. Well, there's mostly no sound. I do have a memory of a very slight hissing noise, which would be like a propane, like turning propane on, kind of a sound to it, just a really slight one. But I can't tell if that was part of the experience or not. It was the very light wind that day, almost no waves on the lake. After it was gone, I looked, behind it to see if there was something that was floating in the water that was reflective. There was literally nothing. Even the buoy was off in a different area. There's often a buoy out in that area, but it was not there at that time. So like there was nothing that could have caused a reflection. There's no way to project something like that because there's nothing to stop the projected light. There's no fog or anything like that. So lasers wouldn't work. So I thought about a lot of things that it could have been that would just be a normal explanation. Now, to be fair, there are a lot of things I'm not, right? I'm not a scientist. I'm not a biologist. I'm not a meteorologist. If it was some kind of a natural phenomenon that's rare but explainable, it could be that. I have no idea. I have personally never heard of anything this weird. Ball lightning is probably the closest you'd come, but not in a big group of colored beach balls like that.
And honestly, I don't know that much about ball lightning, but I don't think it happens over water.
Well,
I don't even know if it could happen over water.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm not a scientist either.
So it's just, adding to the pile of unknowns at this point.
And you absolutely swear that this is the truth.
This is 100%. Everything I said is 100% true. It's exactly how it happened. Exactly what I saw.
I believe you.
Yeah.
I think you saw something weird. Is it natural? Is it? I don't see how it could be something that's man-made or an accident created by human intervention. That doesn't seem likely.
Yeah.
But I don't know what that could. I don't think there's any kind of animal that resembles that kind of coloration and structure.
Fish eggs maybe, but there'd be a hell of a lot smaller. And
if there was fish, those would be more like Godzilla
eggs.
eggs.
Yeah. And how it ended, where it just was there 1 minute and gone the next. It was kind of like I was looking through a window that it just instantly closed, is the kind of feel that it had to it. Yeah, I mean, I would put this solidly in the high strangeness category, because I don't know what else it could be put in. You could technically call it a UFO,
It was definitely unexplained. I think
it's unexplained, yeah.
a couple places that if somebody wanted to investigate this would be to check the log records with the security people, check local authorities to see if there's anything reported around that date, and to see if there was other experiences similar to that reported.
Yes,
on or around that date. So you know of other people who have seen this?
So there's a lady who is part of the community, who's a friend of my folks and a friend of mine now too. She's a mystery author, and so I told her the whole story at lunch one day, and she kind of decided to keep an eye on, if anyone else said anything. And there was a woman apparently who posted on Facebook that she saw some strange lights at night in that same area that just seemed really weird to her. So I don't know if it's all the same, but if this is a repeating thing, that would be even more interesting. It's not just a one-time thing, but maybe somehow related to that specific region, for whatever reason. I don't know. But so that happened. Another lady reported seeing some strange lights in the sky, but that happens all the time around Beale. U2s can get so high, they're reflective. You'll see just a little flash, and because I've seen this before, it's like a flash, but you don't see the plane at all. You're just seeing the reflection at the right time off of the wings, the fuselage. It's really cool. But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I think the important thing with stuff like this is that, just like you believe that I'm telling you what I saw. I think it's the people who leap to believing that what I saw was X, Y, or Z that I think that's sort of a mistake.
Yeah, you can't assign a name or really anything else to it unless it's thoroughly investigated and proven or disproven. Right. And an eyewitness account is hard to disprove.
Yeah. Yeah,
unless you have factual evidence saying this is what it is.
Yeah.
And then you're proving it's something else.
Yeah, because even if they get, if they get like the information from the security booth, it's not going to tell them what it was. It's just going to tell them who called it in.
But it'll validate that you saw something weird.
Yes.
And other people saw it as well.
Yeah, that's all you will get out of that, but that's fine.
Well, that's enough for some people. I mean, something weird happened. Now, is that something that, if somebody was to take up the cause of proving or disproving if this event happens like every year at the same time, or it happens once a month at around the same time, that would be for somebody else to, or some kind of scientific experiment could be done. I'm not a scientist, so I'm not going to go out there and do that stuff, but there are people who have the patience to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that someone will hear this and want to do that, because I think it's so different than other experiences that I've heard people having.
The sad thing is, and it's not really saying anything negative towards other organizations, but without any kind of tangible evidence, you had no recordings of any audio recordings, no video recordings, no photographs, other than just what you saw. That's not really enough for most scientific organizations to take on researching it or investigating it.
Yeah, I think my thing would be, let's assume that it is exactly as I described. The fun there, I think, is saying, well, then what could it be? And I think that's the fun part, because I mean, we're talking about the far-flung future of warfare. Okay, so we've admitted we have limited experience and limited education in matters of importance in something like this, in terms of not being scientists, etc. Knowing what we do know, what are the things that could be looked at? Like what could we theorize it could be and find a way to make sense of that or test it or
Well,
whatever.
any good investigator is going to form a hypothesis, and not just focus on one thing, but have a list of possibilities. So I'm very hesitant myself to go into the realm of UFOs or extra dimensional or interdimensional stuff. I would think I would go into the areas of more natural, like maybe some kind of gas was coming up out of the water, and it was, when you see fuel on the water, it makes this weird rainbow color. So maybe this was reacting with the water. I don't even know if that's possible scientifically for something like that to happen.
I don't
That
know
would be
either.
my first, like, if I had some kind of experimental, scientific, way to investigate that. That's what I would look for first.
The really difficult thing is the fact that it didn't leave anything behind.
That's true.
So
But
there's
if it was gaseous, I'm sure there would be some
or
residue
something on the
left
water.
over.
Yeah, that I would have been able to see if there was anything there, because I definitely looked really hard when it was gone, because I was still like not sure what I was seeing. But how about something super far flung? So there's two things, right? People are talking about plasmoids now. So
Okay, I'm not sure what that is.
plasmoids. So there are certain, like I don't know, UFOs that are seen where they're just glowing really bright. They're like, big orbs, little orbs.
Okay, orbs I've heard of.
Yeah. So they're theorizing that there are these things called plasmoids, which are basically plasma, and it's potentially a new form of life. This is very far flung. This is outer edge kind of stuff. So I was kind of joking to myself that maybe I found a plasmoid breeding facility or something, and I was just watching them have at it.
So and what you said, new life, but not necessarily new, but something undiscovered.
Undiscovered life.
Okay.
Yeah. Like it's always been here, but we're now just recognizing it because we're seeing it more often, and we have more sensitive instruments and so on, sensitive
That's
cameras.
interesting.
So that was one funny thought. I found like you would see all kinds of natural insects and mammals and stuff that breed that way. Snakes, form these giant mounds and just kind of all slither on each other when they're breeding. Certain kinds of snakes, rattlesnakes especially. That could be an explanation. It could be like this other thing that we're starting to see more of and maybe understand more about, and it's doing its thing there. How it just appears and disappears, I have no idea, but that's super weird. But another possibility would be, I watched a video of someone trying to explain what someone who lives in the fifth dimension could show someone living in the third dimension like we are, and what it would look like. So what they said was, if a person in the fifth dimension had a flat piece of paper in their dimension and drew a circle on it and then tried to show that to us, we would see a sphere, like a full sphere. So that got me thinking about the dimensional thing. Not that I want to go there, but when you see big massive spheres, it's kind of hard to say, well, let's exclude dimensional stuff, because that's what it looked like if someone drew this. So if someone literally drew this that I drew here in the fifth dimension and then tried to show that to us, it would look exactly like what I just said.
You did say fifth dimension, not fifth grade, right?
Someone in the fifth dimension in fifth grade drew better than this, which they probably would be able to do.
That's not a bad drawing. I'm giving you a hard time.
I mean, the gist is there, right?
Yeah,
You get the gist.
yeah,
That's the important thing.
The size is the important thing.
It's a new iPad, and it's really the problem here.
That's cool. Yeah. So the dimensional thing. I know there's a lot of speculation into the dimensional beings coming over, or doorways that open up to other dimensions. I just have never experienced anything like that, so I don't know. And I'm no scientist, and that's outside of my realm of knowledge. So I just, it's hard for me to go there. I don't not believe that there are multiple dimensions. I just haven't seen any proof of it.
Yeah.
You know, other than the one thing that does give me a little bit of hope, I guess, that there is multiple dimensions is quantum physics. And I'm no quantum physicist, but I do understand how quantum particles work. And they could be in two places at one time.
Right.
And they're starting to develop a means of using that for communication. Quantum communication, which is what they're talking about using through space.
Yeah.
So that you don't have to wait, 10 minutes to talk to somebody on Mars. You can use quantum communication to communicate directly, instantly.
The quantum entanglement, yeah.
But that gives me a little bit of, I guess, hope that there really is something to this dimensional theory.
Yeah. It's, if you, like, even listening to your past podcasts, and then all of these books, like there's another book called Encounters, Pacholska, I think is her last name.
Yeah, Pasulka.
Pasulka, yeah, sorry about that.
Diane
Pasulka, yeah. Sorry, Diane, my bad. Excellent book, and it's basically getting, just like the Skinwalker book, the first book in the Skinwalker series, relating all of these weird encounters and weird sights that people are seeing. I just got to think, like, not everyone can be out of their mind or have vision problems or brain tumors or be lying about it for absolutely no gain, no reason. That if any one of them is true, then something weird has to be going on. So I'm now at the point now where I have no idea what is going on, but I've already seen two really strange sights, and they're both completely unique and different. What is going on? Like, what does it mean? So I'm kind of at that point where I'm not going to say anymore, like, it's just made, I mean, until probably when did the Tic Tac thing come out?
2017.
So
that's when it became public, but I think the incident happened in 2004.
Yeah. So in 2017, up until that point, I had been on the side of everything is either explainable or just not enough data, but if there was enough, it would be explainable. That's the side that I was on. Fully scientist, like rigorous analysis. You could eventually eliminate all of them, because I had read all these things about, all these secret programs building technologies and on all this other stuff, and how easy it is to see something and mistake it for something else. It happens all the time. But the two things I saw, one, both very difficult to explain, even with today's technology. And two, if it was real and it's not explainable, then it has to mean that something else is going on here on this planet. And people have been seeing this stuff for a very, very long time. But I don't know what that is.
You said a lot of interesting things right now. And what it leads me to the one question that I have is, what enables some people or allows some people to see it and other people's not see it? Why do you have two experiences and I have never had a single experience?
Well, both of my experiences, I was outside. So how often do you get outside?
Every day. I'm outside every day.
Yeah.
And I go to places regularly that most humans don't even go.
Yeah.
Like out in the desert.
Yeah. Well, I know you went out to the mailbox and whatnot, but you didn't see anything strange out there, huh? Post office, you know what I'm talking about. So it's a good question. I'm not going to stand or to sit here and say that this most recent experience was there for me, even with the weirdness of that first white orb.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that
what I'm saying is, I won't make that leap. And I think that means that the people that do see things, I don't know if there's anything different or special about them. And I think it's a mistake for them to believe that's so. I do feel like there's a lot to just being in the right place at the right time, for whatever reason.
Well, so where I was going with that is there something in the visual spectrum that I'm not able to see? Am I in a way have some kind of a handicap that prevents me from seeing these type of things, where you have a more developed type of vision that allows you to see things?
Well, it's well established my vision isn't good enough for me to be a pilot.
So yeah, that doesn't mean that you can't see things that I can't.
Yeah.
That I can see things that clearer than you. Unless you well, if you have your glasses on, you can see them as clear as I can. Yeah. But is there something in my vision that prevents me from seeing certain colors or certain shapes where you're able to see them? That's kind of where I was going with that. That's all.
So the interesting part of having a degree in psychology is you get immersed in the idea of either bottom up or top down perception. And it's been a vigorous debate for a long time about whether we see something first and then our brain interprets it and then we understand it, or our brain interprets it first and then we understand it and then we see it. And there's, one way you're going through a lot of filters in your mind before you really see it, and then others you're not. So a good example of like a bottom up would be when the story goes that like when the Mayflower came over here, that the Indians who were on the shore couldn't see it because they weren't expecting it. So it's almost like a context thing, they would never imagine big floating buildings on the water. So they couldn't see them. So that was their experience causing them to not be able to see reality. That's pretty well established. Maybe that's got something to do with it. I have no idea. But as a psychologist, I would say, yeah, that because we know that actually does happen. So it's possible.
So it's not my eyes that's not allowing you to see it. It's my brain.
It's more, yeah, because if you can see light, you should have been able to see what I've seen. And you can see light. So it's possible that it's related to your perception for some reason. But I think it also works the other way. People start looking for things, hoping to see something. And then they see something that they're hoping is unusual. Maybe it's not, but they are like, finally, I saw something unusual. It runs the gamut, Like, I think it's not just one easy thing.
It's like when you're in the market to buy a new car and you want to buy a Tesla. Now everywhere you look is a Tesla.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like, oh my gosh, so many Teslas everywhere. So I'm sure there's some of that. So I think it's a lot of right place, right time. I think there's some perception involved with it, because I'm sure there are people that walk, like if there were a bunch of people looking up at the sky, they wouldn't even bother to look up. They just keep walking on their business. Their minds are full of something else, and they wouldn't even think, I wonder what these people are looking at. So they'd never get to see it. I think there's some of that happens too. People just going about
there is definitely people who could care less. They just are so engrossed in their day-to-day that whatever's happening around them is not important.
Yeah. I'd say just keep looking, just get out there and.
I mean, it's not like I really want. There was a point in time where I wanted to see something. I was like, okay, so many people have seen something. I got to see something, or maybe I'm not normal. But now it just doesn't bother me anymore. Yeah. It's just curious to me why certain people can see things, and I have never been able to. And a lot of people, I think I would say most people don't see these kind of things. Yeah. And why? That's just a question.
I am kind of, I guess, happy in a way that I have seen the type of things that I've seen, as opposed to like a ghost or something in my house. Like, I think that would freak me out.
Now, I think I might have seen a ghost.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you listen to the podcast.
Okay.
I've shared this a couple of times. When I was a little kid, and I don't know if it was like if I have a false memory of this experience now, or if when I was a kid I saw something that I misinterpreted, but I could have swore I saw this light figure that had substance standing in front of the front. You know, you ever see those old wall furnaces?
Yeah.
They got the louvered vents.
Yeah.
Okay, we had one of those in the house that I was living in, and I was up late at night. Everybody else was asleep, and I was probably 8 or 9 years old. And I remember this so clearly because it had such a like profound effect on me. But I saw this, and I wouldn't say it had it was a figure, but it was definitely a lighted or a lit up image of something. It looked like it had a physical form, but it was transparent. Could have been a light flashing from outside. I didn't think of it back then, but there was no cars on the road. It was way late at night. I mean, probably 2 or 3 in the morning. And we lived at the end of a street that dead ended into a railroad track. So there was no cars driving up and down that road. But yeah, and then I had a dream. This was just a dream, but I had a dream that my grandmother visited me. My grandmother who had passed away. Yeah. And this was like 10 years after she had died. She visited me in a dream.
So in my family, so we have a grandmother who passed away, and she visited all of us, and we all eventually had to tell her to go away. Nothing, no offense, Grandma, just, it was just too much. But in our dreams, like just constantly. I still have people, I dream literally all night long, every night. It's annoying because a lot of these dreams are just waste. I'm like planes, trains, and automobiles, just going places and never getting there. Like, it's just so miserable.
Dreams are interesting though.
Yeah.
We could do a whole other podcast episode on dreams.
That's one of the things I found fascinating when I was doing the psychology degree was, there were 2 things. It was, dreams, and then also, like the psychology of what dreams mean, dream interpretation. But the other
Wasn't that invented by
Carl Jung? Yeah. I don't know if he invented it. Maybe
discovered.
Yeah, he was definitely in the argument though. The other thing was like abnormal psych. Like serial killers and stuff like that, because normal people...
See, that's another thing that's like, people are obsessed with these people that commit mayhem. Why is that?
So like for me, it was just understanding how their mind, the psychology of it, how their mind is so different and what makes it different. They've actually found that a fair number of them have brain damage. So that's part of it, but also the what do you call it? How they grew up, the environment that they were in, that plays a really big factor. How much their parents paid attention to them and all those kinds of things. But so yeah, I just found the abnormal psych to be interesting, like short-term memory loss and all these like really oddities. I used to love reading about. So.
You like the X-Files?
Oh yeah, love the X-Files.
There was I've been watching the whole series, and episode recently that I saw, I think it was Mulder was talking about how some people believe, I guess it's in some literature too, that evil is a disease, and most people are immune to it. Their whole lives they never indulge in it. They never really step over the threshold into evil. But when something really negative, really bad, puts you in a place that you become vulnerable or open to it, then you can be affected by evil. And then that's when your life changes and you start doing bad things.
Interesting.
It was an interesting theory, right?
It is, yeah.
It's not my theory. I just thought it was an interesting theory.
It is an interesting theory. Yeah, absolutely. Because that was part of the fascination, is how do they get to that that edge, and then what made them step over to do that first thing. Because once that first thing they do, then from there, it's easier. So whatever that is, killing a dog or a cat or something like that, and then they're like, oh, I can easily just take lives of things around me.
But even what drove them to that? Because that's an evil act.
Oh, for sure.
Taking another life.
That's the first indicator of someone who's got a predilection for that.
That would be a symptom of the disease. But you've now been infected with the disease. What allowed you to become infected? Yeah. So it is a fascinating topic,
really is.
Man. And
I think
that's a rabbit hole that would take a whole series of podcasts.
I think that people are fascinated by that kind of thing because it's so hard for normal people to understand it because we're not
that
like
makes
that.
Sense. I can accept that.
So
as
you're just
answer.
like, how could you do that?
Yep.
Like, what is wrong with you? Like, why? How does how's that whole thing work? And I think that's the fascination. Even like people who just like murder mysteries and stuff like that. It's like finding out why somebody did something so heinous because you're a normal person.
Who did it for one is always the compelling question. For those kind of stories.
The butler in the pantry with the steak knife, right?
I always say it's Colonel Mustard with the candlestick in the library. Anyway, this has been a great conversation, man. So we'll have to do some more of these.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to.
Because, I know that the commute is brutal.
Yeah. It's terrible.
And the scheduling is difficult.
Yeah.
That's
I can
true.
get over here on flip-flops, so it's all good.
Right.
But the schedule's really the thing.
And I just want to say thank you for taking the time to share your life stories with me.
Yeah, Andrew, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's enjoyable to spend this time with you talking about all kinds of fun stuff.
That wraps up part 2 of my interview with Jeremy Bailey. Check back soon for new episodes with more fascinating guests, hidden mysteries of the Cold War, and the strange realities shaping our world and our future. Thanks for listening.